chỉ muốn nó có chỉ trong trang trong lời đây trong khó bị người ta tàu trong nước trong nó cũng là nu rồi nhà nam bên mong ha Hmoob cứ nhau trong bên cái cho nó rồi ôi như ông họ được sang hay cái chỉ còn té em trong nước trong thằng đôi biết mà nên tàu tôi nhau cái mà nó thì em họ từ trong này rồi chỉ muốn nhận tao một chỉ có tàu đây. So welcome, good evening. Thank you so much for coming. This is really the culmination of a very strong partnership between myself and the former Hmong pilots and Hmoob pilot from Laos. They sacrifice so much and they make so much contribution to so many different things, but they have lived quietly for 40-something years, and our 6 years, our partnership has resulted in this evening. And so I am so thrilled to welcome you. For those of you who I don't know yet, I am Chia Youyee Vang. I'm the professor of history here. I'm also the Associate Vice Chancellor for Global Inclusion and Engagement at this university. It is a pleasure to welcome you, and you should have picked up a program, I hope, on your way in here, so that you can see what we are here for and what we will be discussing tonight. The event is called War, Memory, and Feeling, and I think it's a very appropriate way to think about how the only reason why I am standing here and the only reason why many of my fellow Hmong Americans are here and Lao Americans is because of war. So without war, we never would have immigrated to the United States. So thank you so much for being here. I know that many people sacrifice so that I can be standing right here to be welcoming you to this wonderful university that I have been a faculty member for 13 years. I keep forgetting whether if it's 12 or 13, but I think it's in between there somewhere. I came here 12 years ago, almost 13, not really expecting that I would stay this long, but it has been a very good community for me. And so I want to begin by thanking many people who helped to make this possible. The first one is my assistant Rebecca in the back or in the front. It depends on how you look, right? She has been running around, and also Linda. They have been driving people. Dao has helped to pick up people in Sunstar, and my dear husband Tong, who didn't sign up for this, but he took time off of work today just to be my driver. So thank you, Tong, and thank you to all the students and all the volunteers in the back. I can't name everyone, but you all made this possible. And I also want to thank the College of Letters and Science here at the University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee that has been supporting my research. The only reason why I was able to go around the country to interview people is because of the college's support for my work. And my colleagues, many of them are here, my department chair, Joe Rodriguez, my colleague Rachel Buff, who has been my champion forever since I came to this university. So I think wherever you go in life, you need these champions, and you also need cheerleaders. So thank you so much, all the graduate students who are here, lots of familiar faces, and then some that I don't recognize. So thank you so much. I rarely do this because I'm here by myself with my husband and I. We are from the Twin Cities, so our families there. So we rarely ever have events here that we actually have family members. So I just want to say how pleased I am that tonight my aunt and uncle, Tong and Taiying from Sheboygan, they are here to help us. My little sister, my gal's here as well. And then, you know, my family, my older brother, Chance, is here with my sister-in-law and my uncle, Tom, who's actually the president of the SGU Family USA. And they're so supportive, and my aunt, and all of you. I can't name everyone, but thank you so much for being here. Again, I never get to do this because I have such a nice community here, but never my family members. So thank you so much for traveling to be here. I know you had a snowstorm, so thank you. That means a lot to me. I also want to thank a few of the people. If you look on your program, every time we have events on campus, you know, the university sometimes people think we have a lot of resources, right? And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But it's really the community members who also really stepped up to help me. We are a public university, as you all know, and so sometimes we don't always have the funds to do the great things that we want to do. So I just want to have a shout out to the Hmong Chamber of Commerce in Wisconsin, Hmoob Consulting Group. They are my really good friends. And that's why they came forward to provide some funding and support for promotion, marketing, so that all of you can learn about this event. The Wisconsin United Coalition of Hmong Mutual Assistance Association, or WACMA, Charles Vang Insurance Agency, Show Hmong News, Hmong American Peace Academy, Mike Orban, my colleague who is a Vietnam veteran, the Hmong Institute, the Organization of Chinese Americans, National Mutual Benefit and Advan Insurance, Department of History, Hmong American Women's Association, Comparative Ethnic Studies, which I am also a faculty member, in the Cultures and Communities program, and last but not least, UWM-Milwaukee TV. Thank you so much I just want to clap for you because you make this possible. Why we are here today is that the pilots themselves, some of them, not all of them are here, but some of them have traveled from very far across the country, from California to Boston to Pennsylvania, you name it. They are here from far away, so I want to thank them for being here. I will introduce them a little bit more formally in a bit when we have a conversation with them. But it is their trust in me that has led us to this. Many people want to write books, and many people want to learn about great stories and do things, but you know, it is really the people themselves. Their stories are so compelling, right? And they share them with us, and then it's our job as scholars to do the very best that we can to tell their stories in an honest and meaningful way. And so we are here to celebrate my book. I am the author, right? Fly Until You Die, and you'll learn a little bit more about the work. An oral history of Hmong pilots in the Vietnam War. And the reason why the kinds of research that I do requires that I travel around the country, around the world, to talk to people is that the kinds of things that are important to historians at the archives, right? The documents and important messages and letters that important people, politicians and leaders, their documents are available at the archive for historians to go and sit and sift through and enjoy ourselves reading about dead people's thoughts and feelings hundreds of years ago. But the people that I'm studying, the people whose voices are not at these archives, are very much, you know, on the margin. And so that's how I collected information and stories for this book. It is really through the help of the Hmong Pilots Committee that has enabled me to do this work. It is not mine. Whatever mistakes are in the book, it's all mine. But the joys are all of ours. So I thank you, all of the pilots. Again, I'll introduce you in a little bit more formally. But I just want to have a call out to the Hmong Pilot Veterans Committee. It is their leadership. This is their book. I'm just the messenger. I just have this gift to tell their story, but it is theirs, okay? So Kuo Xiong was the chair of the Hmong Pilots Veterans Committee. So Kuo, Uncle Kuo, they're all my uncles now. Uncle Kuo, you know, was a T-28 pilot. And then Uncle Yeka, also a T-28 pilot. And then Uncle Yapong, and he's not here. No, Uncle Yapong is here. He's taking pictures. So you think he's just taking pictures. And then Uncle Vatu, who's ill and not able to travel. And then Uncles Vatka and Captain and Uncle Pauya Yapo, they are the advisors for this committee. And again, this project would never have been made possible without the help of Gong Yang, who is, the spouse of pilot Yang, and she will come up here and say a few words in a little bit. But I don't want to say too much because I think for a lot of faculty members, that's what we do. We teach, and so we are telling people all the things that we love and the joys and things that we think we know, the knowledge that we produce that we want to share. But I don't want to lecture at you tonight. I want to have us enjoy the evening and to hear the voices of the people who really matter. So I'm going to begin with inviting my students, the Hmong Student Association Choir, to sing a song that, for those of you who know the song, it's really touching and meaningful. And they are so talented. The only thing they won't do is to let me sing because then you might all leave the room tonight. So I want to welcome the Hmong Student Association Choir. Please come on up, team. They will be performing a song called Mong Lu Go Mong, or Hmong Tears. And really, for those of you who don't speak Hmong, it's such a wonderful song talking about the journeys of traveling from Asia to this country, but also to talk about how it is really the elders who paved the way for us, and it is their sacrifices that enabled us to be here. So we have close to 700 Hmong American students on this campus, so we all should be very proud of this institution just being attracting to a lot of Hmong students from all over the state. So HSA, come on down, or come on up.
Ya ta lo mulu kumundo, it's okay what you do. Cứ tìm mong mê qua, yo khát so.
Mong lu này nhớ chẳng đủ đi, mong tu bóng tao lu kumua, tao một đâu tu đây, mình nghe theo gì là.
Trong thiên hay bây giờ qua kia lo ti thái bi mong luôn bê như thiên gió mù thâu luôn đê đê
Mọi cái nhỏ xe thọ chỉ ba đây mọi cái giống xe thọ bắt giờ mong là qua mọi thiên lý ra tu
Hãy subscribe cho kênh Ghiền Mì Gõ để không bỏ lỡ
chúa không sao bên và đi luôn đau chỉ tôi thấy luôn hình sống như muốn đi trong mù vì hai mong ngắm mi ru ru biết tin đó luôn biết đây chỉ từ cái thứ trong kia vì mỗi cho lao cái kia thao tôi nhỏ vì nó
mùa in hu nên dây tô xia thọ tí lo ba cho tàu cá có bè luôn nên trong cha ya ta
thọ lo tới bề hai nên mong có bề vốn nên xử lý lô thế chân nhỏ bề mong còn lương của mùa trong kia vì mua cho lo cái kia thao tôi nhỏ vì nó ngày con gió nghĩa tên sông hậu nghĩa tên sơ đi mong đời đất yêu mua thứ gì cho lâu cho nua cho mua cho nua nó sâu ok lo sẽ nhỏ ôi kê chỉ pha chỉ lu hai mình mong yo nhỏ cả sẽ lu địa tế sông hậu địa tế chất đi mong đại love yêu mua thứ gì cho lâu cho lúa cho mua cho lúa là sao ok lo sẽ nhà ôi kê chỉ ba chỉ lu hai mong yo nhỏ cả sẽ lu
Thank you so much. For those of you who don't speak Hmong, it's a beautiful song and it is about honoring elders too. So thank you so much. So that we can stay on time, I want to invite my good friend Gao Li Yang to come and say a few words. It is really, without her, we wouldn't be here today. And I'll let her speak for herself about why I'm saying that.
Hello? Can you all hear me? Good afternoon. My name is Gao Li Yang, and I am married to former Lieutenant Ya Peng. I'm also a sister of a missing in action pilot, Lieutenant Vang Tua, who was one of the first two Hmong T-28 pilots trained by the U.S. I got involved in the Hmong Pilot Veterans Committee because of my relationship with these two former pilots. I have been volunteering for the committee since 2012, first as their public relations representative and then an advisor. My role changed as needed by the committee. And it has been an honor and memorable experience working with this gentleman. First and foremost, I would like to thank Dr. Chia Youyee Vang on behalf of the Hmong Pilots Committee for not only writing the book that we are celebrating today, but also for all the work that went into making this gathering possible, memorable, and honorable for the Hmong pilots. Chia, you recognize the invaluable stories of the Hmong pilots needed to share. You worked diligently and respectfully to collect the stories of many into a single book that our entire community can be proud of. The Hmong people made many sacrifices during the U.S. Secret War, and this book will help to inform our young people and our new neighbors about our past and where we came from. Chia, would you please step over here? I'd like to present you with a small token of appreciation on behalf of the Hmong Pilots Committee. And this is our way of saying thank you for the commitment and devotion to this project. And I'm going to fix it out. Now I need my glasses to read what's written here. This is the plate that we would like to give to Dr. Chia Youyee Vang. It says Hmong Pilot Veterans Committee, and it has a picture of a T-28 airplane. It says, present to Dr. Chia Youyee Vang in appreciation for your outstanding contribution towards preserving the history of the Hmong Special Air Operation Kawm during the U.S. Secret War in Laos, and signed by Guo Chairman and Hmoob Secretary, April 12, 2019.
Thank you.
And I thought that I could do this by just not using my glasses, but you know how that is as you age, you really need your reading glasses. Now, I'd like to give you a little behind the scenes with how and why the writing of this book came to be. You see, while there are a number of American pilot instructors and servicemen who later wrote praises about the courageous Hmong pilots, a handful number countered these praises with negative remarks. In these other books and articles, the Hmong pilots were portrayed as uneducated buffalo herders who transformed into war pilots overnight. Some even compare training Hmong pilots to training monkeys by simply giving them lots of bananas. But the most hurtful was the insinuation by some writers that the Hmong did not fight for the Americans or with the Americans, but an isolated and independent civil war within their own country with the aids from the United States. These statements were gross illusions intended to misguide the public about the U.S. Secret War in Laos and the Hmong role in it. Because of these sentiments, my husband, Phau, has long had a wish of one day being able to tell the world, especially our younger generation, the stories of the Kawm, the Hmong pilots of the U.S. Secret War. The reason was not for self-promotion nor glorify war, but to honor all those who served, especially our fallen brothers and sisters. After hearing that a number of former pilots had passed away and realizing that their untold stories may well disappear with them, it became clear to both of us that written accounts from the Hmong pilots' perspectives was lagging. Because there were so few Hmong pilots remaining, Phau's longtime wish became our mission, and we began the search for someone to help tell the stories of the Kawm. In 2012, the Hmong pilots held their first ever reunion and received an official thank you for their service from the U.S. Air Force. Phau took on the task of organizing the event since it was to take place in Minnesota, where he lives. He in turn recruited me to assist. This event led us towards many additional projects working with and on behalf of the Hmong pilots. In response to the various projects he was asked to participate in since the reunion, Phau brought forth the idea of forming a committee to address all these incoming inquiries. Subsequently, the Hmong Pilot Veterans Committee was formed, and Mr. Xyoo was elected chairman. It was at this time that I reached out to Dr. Chia, whom I've known through our involvement in the Women Association of Hmong and Lao in St. Paul, Minnesota. Being a historian professor, she understood that it was time for the Hmong pilots to tell their stories and was willing to help write the book. She was chosen because she agreed to work collaboratively with us to ensure that the book tells the truth about the Hmong pilots. We brought the book idea and recommended Dr. Chia to the committee, and they adopted the project in 2013. That is how this book got started. Since the formation of the committee, in addition to the book project with Dr. Chia, the members had participated in several projects to bring more awareness to the Hmong pilots and their role in the U.S. Secret War. These included the T-28 airplane restoration and exhibit at the Aviation Heritage Center in Sheboygan Falls, the Vietnam Veterans Day celebration with Thuy Smith Outreach International in Eau Claire, the Minnesota Hmong Lao Veterans Monument, and last but not least, the Lao Hmong and American Veterans Memorial Monument in Sheboygan, but that project has been put on hold. It is the hope of the committee that our younger generation, especially the children of the Hmong pilots, would continue the work that they initiated so that these stories will not be forgotten. This book would not be complete without two very special individuals, Xyoo and Phau, who worked diligently with Dr. Chia to ensure that the stories were inclusive, true to history, and authentic. They searched for the surviving pilots and families of the deceased so that Chia would have a comprehensive list and contacts. They contacted as many individuals and families as possible and tried their best to assure them of the reason for the book, as well as the long-term benefit it will have for the Hmong community. That the writer, Dr. Chia, would not become wealthy from the book. But she has the greatest opportunities and resources to ensure long-lasting impact and educational outcomes for the community. Xyoo and Phau read the drafts and pointed out inconsistencies between events and our stories so that Chia could do further research. Though this scrutiny occasionally caused friction and created tension between the survivors and family members of the deceased who remember events differently, these two brave men approached the issues kindly and respectfully and were able to resolve these issues so that Chia could continue to finish the book. Finally, this book would not be possible without the collaboration of all the Pilot Veterans Committee members and other surviving pilots and families of the deceased pilots. Please know that your stories are invaluable, and this book would not be complete without your contribution. To the families and individuals whom we were not able to reach due to time constraints and limited resources, please accept our sincere apologies. We hope you find comfort in knowing that we tried our best to be as inclusive as we could so that a piece of you and your loved ones were included in the telling of this story. This book contains stories that have been waiting and needing to be told. It is a cry from the grave. It is the tears of the surviving parents, widows, children, and orphans of the deceased pilots. It is a cry for recognition, for a sense of dignity for the Hmong pilots. While there are those who might disagree with our stories and our perspectives, this book is our truth. It is our chance to tell our history. It is our healing process to finally close decades-long wounds, and it is a tribute to all those who served during the war. This book will tell you the undeniable truth that the Hmong pilots were trained by the U.S. Air Force in Thailand to fight the secret war in Laos. It will tell you that while there were some mutual benefits for the Hmong, the mission of these pilots was determined by the U.S., namely Washington, D.C. The Hmong fought according to the U.S. strategic plan to stop the spread of communism and to aid the war in Vietnam, which was carried out by the CIA through General Vang Phau. So let me repeat what I just said. The Hmong Special Guerrilla Unit Army and the Special Air Operation Hmong pilots did not work for General Vang Phau, nor did they work for the CIA. They worked for the United States of America. I hope that you will find this book edifying as you learn more about our people and our history, our truth. Thank you.
Captain Kwajong, who will make some remarks on behalf of the committee and also on behalf of himself as one of the pilots who was actually injured and wasn't able to continue.
There is one thing I can guarantee to you, that my speech is short. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome everyone to this special event. Wow, everybody look good. It's so good to see so many faces in the audience. Thank you for taking time to join us tonight. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Nthuav. I was a former captain among the Hmong T-28 pilots, and my story is one of many that will be shared in this book. This event today is a celebration of a part of our Hmong history, and to remind us of the many sacrifices we took to get to where we are today. This project has taken the memories of life, love, and sacrifice of so many pilots, and it has given us an opportunity to be able to share those personal memories with all of you. This book is a reflection of our life, our insights, and our role in the Vietnam War. It was a very personal and emotional journey for each of us to retell and share with all. I would like to take this opportunity to thank Dr. Thiab for all of her effort in gathering our stories of Hmong pilots. It is a huge undertaking to take interview and create a marriage story of talent. This important book will lay on for future generations to learn about who they are, where they come from, but more importantly, what it took for them to be here today. It takes a lot of time and dedication and passion for bringing those stories to life, and Dr. Thiab was gracious enough to pursue this task and has done an excellent job in assembling this book. Congratulations, Dr. Thiab, for completing this book, and I mean thank you. This story The story of this book has been a way for me to share the part of Hmong history during the Vietnam War. I not only lived through, but I was lucky enough to be survived. When I decided to become a pilot, I did not know how high it would be. For many of you, especially the younger people in the audience, learning to fly and then prepare to go to war is not like playing a video game where there are a few buttons to push. Okay? Training back then was not like how it is now. Technology assists our pilot in the instruction. Nor did we have the advanced technology to help carry out the mission. As a pilot back then, we had to really listen to our pilot instructor and had to learn as we go. Can you imagine that? How hard it must have been for us. But somehow we were able to learn together and carry out the important mission that we have to do. It was not easy, but we all did it. After reading this book, it is my hope for all of you to know that the sacrifice we made as Hmong pilots was for a better and more peaceful world. I know that every time we took to the skies, we literally saw the big picture. We were all fighting for something bigger than ourselves and our families. We were fighting for our people, and we were fighting for our hope, and we were fighting alongside our airline who cherished freedom. Our journey to get here was not an easy one, and we must never forget the sacrifice and the story that had led all of us where we are today. We must remember and honor those who could not be here today with us. We must not forget those who flew beside us as a wingman or leader who lost their life when their planes were destroyed by carrying out their mission. It was one of the hardest parts as our brotherhood to end, because I knew that not all of us would survive. And thank you again for showing up tonight to support this work. And lastly, but mostly and most important, to my fellow Hmong pilot and the U.S.-American pilot featured in this book. Thank you for your sacrifice and services, and I'm so proud to have served alongside with you. Thank you.
I would like to invite former Assistant Secretary of the U.S. Air Force and Raven Forward Air Controller, Colonel retired Craig During, who is an eyewitness, who has partnered with the Hmong pilots. He himself was a pilot, and so for him, it's not about reading a book and telling stories, but he lived that experience. So I'd like to invite him to come up to say a few words.
I wonder if I'm going to get a hug too when I finish this one. I'm not sure. You know, one of the challenges, let me just start out with this. One of the challenges of being thrust into an environment like this, I came off a farm up in Minnesota, around Mankato, if you've ever been there, and got into pilot training, and right straight out of the pilot training went to become a forward air controller in Vietnam. That's a forward air controller. This is important because I'm going to link it in later. It is the person who actually can find the targets and calls for the fighters. The fighters come in too high and too fast, normally, to be able to find the targets, and then let alone hit them. So he runs the airstream. That's the person who says, I want you to come in from east to west, turn off to the south. The elevation is so high. There's a lot more to it in those days because nowadays the technology has caught up. And so we use a lot of people on the ground. If you can watch movies about Afghanistan and the Middle East, this is the same type of mission that we did. But being thrust into there, eventually I got up. I'm not going to go into that, how I got to Laos and how I found out about this program, which was very classified, very highly classified. Ended up at Long Chen. I said, thank you, God. I knew that's where the action was. Please get me there. And one of the, was like the first or second day, the senior ranking American there on the site says, we're going down to see General Vang Phau. I want to introduce you to Vang Phau. Oh, okay, well, I'd heard about this guy. And so I wanted to impress him. So I did as much studying as I could. I didn't know Hmong. I still don't know any Hmong. I know, what, 4 words in Lao, I think, something like that. Turn left, turn right, stop. And so we went down to his house. And I knew that, the traditional greeting, and I had practiced it, and I knew that if it was a king, you should have it above your head. If it's a child, you have it down here. If somebody, so I figured it's kind of on a sliding scale. And I went to the door, and he said, General Vang Phau, welcome, my friend, and he says, General, I'd like you to meet the new Raven fact. This is Raven 2.7, and I put my hands, like here, real quick. To greet him. Probably he shoved his hand out here for a handshake. I drew mine back for a handshake. He put his hands back up in the air. And next thing you know, I'm back in the air, he's down here. Finally, he reached up and grabbed my hand and pulled it down and said, welcome. And that was my introduction. And I think it's the first time I realized that we had an awful lot in common. What are the Ravens? Let me give you a quick rundown on that. Okay, you got to go back and remember that after World War II, there were Hmong involved a long time ago in fighting. And it doesn't just start with the war in Southeast Asia. So now you've got the war's done, the French want to come back, take their colonies. Most of the Hmong that I know, and certainly Vang Phau, worked with the French Army. He was a major in the French Army, as I recall, at that time, and actually leading a column towards Dien Bien Phu when it fell in 1954. So now it's open. What's happened? Obviously, you're the Vietnamese are getting ready to want to go back and take the South. It's the countries are divided up. All this stuff is happening. In 1962, the United Nations signed what they called the Geneva Accords, and it said that Laos would be neutral. Everybody in uniform get out. Everybody got out except the North Vietnamese, right? So here we go. They wanted to reunite their country, but they also wanted a buffer zone around themselves. So that's why they started in Cambodia, but especially in Laos, and especially in northern Laos. And the action, who was there to fight? It was the Hmong, where the people were fighting. So this was going on before the Americans got into war. Then eventually in the early 60s, I can't remember the exact date, Bill Lair, who you've heard about already, the CIA came up and made contact with Vang Phau. Why? Because we could not introduce American military forces into Laos, according to the Geneva Accords. Anybody in uniform? Get out of here. So the CIA took it, and they formed a relationship, and it was a very mutually friendly pact because we got something out of it, the Hmong got something out of it. We got the airlift, the supplies, the training, the uniforms, whatever it is that you needed. So off it went. Well, of course, there was a question about the fighters that are sitting down in Thailand flying every day across Laos, across the PDJ up to North Vietnam to bomb Hanoi and Haiphong. Well, when the weather's bad up there, why don't they come and drop a few bombs here? I mean, there's an awful lot of aircraft up there. Well, you need one more thing, and that's called a forward air controller. I just talked about that. So they wanted to keep it low key, and they started out with some special operators, some special operations guys out of Hurlburt Field. These were not pilots, so they had to beg a ride anytime they wanted to go someplace. There were various aircraft, a lot of wonderful stories, didn't work. So they escalated it a little bit, and then they finally got a couple of guys who were pilots, and finally one of the generals came in, he says, this is nuts. He says, let's get really talented, experienced forward air controllers from Vietnam to go up there And then what they'll do, as we all did, we went to Udorn, sanitized, got into civilian clothes, put your uniform in a box. You took everything out of your wallet that said anything to do with the military except your ID card and your Geneva Convention card. For the simple reason that if you got shot down, you'd go, I'm really a member of the military, I really want to be a POW, I don't want to be shot as a spy. And that's how the program started around 1966. It lasted until 1972. During that time, a grand total of only 200 people were involved in the program. We were only allowed 21 people in country at one time. There were usually at 8 at Long Chen. I was fortunate enough to go to Long Chen and remain there. And because of a glitch in the personnel system, I stayed there then for 11 months rather than the traditional 6, 5, or whatever the other guys stayed. I learned a lot during that time. I learned a lot about people. And the longer I was with this group, I started seeing we had a lot in common. Well, as pilots, of course, we flew airplanes. I went down and checked out the T-28 as well, and came back and flew that along with the O-1 Bird Dog until both of our airplanes were shot down. And we didn't have any more. So we went back to flying the O-1 Bird Dog. The missions that we flew together were very similar. What we did, listen, don't tell anybody, this has got to stay in the room, that what we guys did, because we knew these fellas, we knew these pilots. If we found a really neat target out there, okay, a truck buried under a tree, they didn't get a chance to camouflage it, we didn't tell anybody until some of the Hmong pilots came up and said, oh yeah, gosh, I just found this truck loaded with supplies. Would you come over? Sure, we'll come over, because they can hit it. You know, some of the other guys, the fast movers, sometimes they hit it, sometimes they don't, up and down, whatever. These are the people that we call on. These were our brothers. I could give you plenty of stories. I'm going to think about one. I don't want to embarrass this guy, but I was a forward air controller. I was out one day putting in a set of F4s. When the lead aircraft was hit by ground fire, for some unknown reason, the back seater bailed out. He bailed out right over the target. I saw that parachute coming out. I said, oh my God, this is not going to be pretty, because we had a 51 cal on there. We had a lot of anti-aircraft type, small anti-aircrafts, a lot of ground fire, and we had to try to get him out. We worked for the next 2 hours. We had a flight of chopper cows come up and put, in spite of the fact that 2 helicopters now had been shot up trying to get this guy out, Air America, and they couldn't do it. These guys came in and laid down CBU, cluster bomb units, just a little bomb, looks like hand grenades. You got to get really low in order to do that. So again, you talk about treetops, they did it. And they put it right alongside the guy, because what we saw was the enemy moving up close to him. And these guys kind of put a path between them to protect him. Well, one thing led to another. They had to go home. We had nobody left. And so my Hmong friend, who was in my airplane with me, and I took my M16, and when they were trying to get in close to that guy, we just made a low pass, opened the window, and fired out the window. They were astonished. There were 8 soldiers on the ground. They were really astonished. They didn't. I couldn't hit anything from that altitude. Just shooting all over the place. Scared them. So I went back around. Sure enough, they started going in. We did it again. The 3rd time, they were waiting for us, and they really, really hosed us. Fortunately, we made it out okay. I got low on fuel. The regular search and rescue forces came up. We went back to Long Chen. The guy in my back seat was just, by that time, he was white as a sheet. He could have passed for a Swedish immigrant, But he had it right up to here. And I said, I need a backseater. I can't do this alone. I need somebody to go with me. And one guy who's sitting right here in this audience today said, I'll go with you. He did. We went out, and well, the story's a long one. We finished up the mission. This is typical of what we saw and what we became accustomed to. And you got to remember that there was an awful lot of pressure on our Hmong friends, on us, but it drove us together. And that's why we're here today. That's why we're friends to this day. Well, all these people could. It's not what we are different. It's the things that we are together in, so much alike. And quite frankly, made this whole immigration story, which is quite a story, by the way, I don't have time to go into it, very, very interesting, and why the young people in this crowd should be extremely proud of their ancestors. And I would beg you to do one thing. If you have a member of your family who was involved either in the SGU or if they were in Chapakaws or whatever role they played, get them to record this, because your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren will someday want to reach back and know about Grandpa so-and-so or great-grandpa so-and-so. Get it, because if it isn't recorded, it didn't happen. Okay, so I'm getting the, out of here sign. If you got any more questions about this aspect of it, I'm here all night. I'd be happy to engage in a conversation. I couldn't be more proud to be here, and I want to thank Dr. Vang for taking the time to put this down and actually capture some of these stories, because some of these guys weren't going to do it. So she went out there and forced them to do it. As a result, we as Americans have more of our history to be proud of, right there in her book. So thank you. Talk to you later.
Everybody gets a hug. So the next speaker, thank you so much, is our very own Mayor Barrett, who has taken the time to be with us tonight, and I'm so honored that he is here to say a few words, and then I believe I will just stick around and see if he needs me to do jumping jacks or something like that.
Thank you, Dr. We've got many visitors to Milwaukee, and I want you to know that I don't always dress with the fleece on, but this is a special day here in Milwaukee, so please forgive my attire. The Milwaukee Bucks, our basketball team, you can clap for our Milwaukee Bucks. That's the best record in the NBA, and they're starting the playoffs. So this morning we did something we've never done before. We dyed the river green here in Milwaukee under the Bucks, and we wrapped our streetcar. Done other events for the Bucks all day. So I'm wearing my Bucks attire. So please forgive me for wearing my Bucks attire. It's not a sign of disrespect, but we appreciate it. I am so honored to be here tonight. In my job as mayor, I get the opportunity to go to a lot of neighborhood events, sometimes some citywide events. I even get the honor to welcome visitors from around the state to our city. It is indeed rare that I have an opportunity to stand before heroes. And that is how I feel tonight. Heroes that have helped our country through a very difficult time. I grew up here in Milwaukee. Secretary During and I may look like we're pretty close in age. We both have sort of silver hair. I'm guessing he's a few years older than I am. But I came of age during the Vietnam War. And as a young boy in Milwaukee coming of age during the Vietnam War, it was a puzzling time, and it was a challenging time. This was a war that divided our country. In many ways divided the generations in our country, just as it divided Southeastern Asia. And I think, unfortunately, at that time, in particular, I think that we as Americans did something wrong as it pertained to the people who served our nation in the Vietnam War. And what I mean by that is, although there were very serious political divisions over the war, I think that the mistake that was made is that some American people, not all American people, took it out on those individuals who served in the armed forces as though they were the ones that were making the decisions. And so we had members of the Army and the Air Force, Navy, Marines, who, young men, primarily young men, who did what they felt was right. They felt it was right to represent our country. And when they came home, they weren't treated with the respect that I believe that they deserved. And I think in retrospect, I think our nation has matured, and now, regardless of how people feel about a conflict overseas, I think we now recognize that those individuals who put their lives on the line for this nation are not the ones that should be blamed if you disagree. And I start with that because I think it's also important that we as a nation always remember the sacrifices that the Hmong people made on behalf of this country as well. And so I am here tonight on behalf of the residents of this city to say thank you. To say thank you not only to the heroes who are here, but to all of you, all of us who have Hmong ancestry, because of the sacrifices that you made as a result of the decisions that the heroes made to be involved. And I do think it is incredibly important that Dr. Chia wrote this book. Because I think one of the big mistakes that human beings make, not just Americans, not people from Laos, but Americans make is they forget our history. And when we forget our history, we are making a huge, huge mistake. For several reasons. One, I think it's incredibly important to pay tribute again to those individuals who flew, who got involved, to let you know that we remember that. We remember that. But it's also important, I think, so that the culture can be preserved, so that the history can be preserved, so that the memories can be preserved. That to me is incredibly, incredibly important. So thank you very, very much for what you've done. And I will pass out some certificates. But I also want, because we've got a lot of visitors here, I want you also to know how important the Hmong community is in this city. The Hmong American Peace Academy. I wish you were here on a Wednesday or Thursday. Maybe you had an opportunity to visit this school. This school, the Hmong American Peace Academy, is a school that you want to replicate and take to your community because it is such a phenomenal school. And I am so thankful for Chris and everyone who's been involved. Our Hmong business community is thriving and growing and is very well respected. You get a chance to go to the Asian market on 76th Street. You'll be very, very impressed. It's very, very exciting to see that. And I watched with great interest with some of the political elections in Minnesota, where there's a large Hmong population, and watched with great admiration as to how the Hmong community is being more involved in the political community as well. And I think we're at that point here in Wisconsin as well, because we've got a large Hmong population here, to have our young people get even more involved in the political process and the government process, because as we all know, that's important as well. So again, on behalf of the residents of this city, to all of our visitors, thank you. To our heroes, thank you. And to everyone who is here today, thank you for doing so much to preserve the history and extend what is important for our community. And with that, I think I have some, do we do it now?
Yep, just do it now.
We got some letters to hand up. Here we go. Dr. Chia may be helping me with some pronunciations, if that's all right. But these are all letters. I just want, again, on behalf of our residents, I want to present each of you with a letter. Major Baca? Major Baca? I just want to present this to you. Captain Nthuav Vang. I know you're from all over the country. The letter is addressed to UWM here. I thought, oh, he lives right here at UWM. That's what I thought of the first one. The second one, I realized they're all addressed to UWM. So, Captain John Tsev. Captain Yon Jing. Good. Kusham. Captain Phau Ntawv. Lieutenant Fonge. Lieutenant Yali. He's in really good shape. And last but not least, Lieutenant Yee.
Okay, thank you so much. So much I want to say, but we're running a little bit behind, so I'm going to introduce my provost, Johannes Britz, who is the provost and vice chancellor for academic affairs here at this great University of Wisconsin.
Chair, thank you very much. And as the mayor, where he is now, there he is. I'm dressed up in green, but not just because of the bucks. I was running late, and I thought, I'm not going to miss this event. And I was scheduled 5:30, and I ran here because of another meeting, so I have a jacket and a tie. So it's not out of disrespect. Out of respect, I want to make sure I was rather on time without a tie and a jacket than being late. So, but good luck for the Bucks, and I hope the water is green and we win. And that's wonderful, and I always think of the mayor talking with never with the script. But tonight you had to use the script to do the announcements. I think that's good. And we were last night actually at the public health event, the 10th anniversary of our School of Public Health. So I see the game tonight. So I'm glad. Thank you very much for your support for UWM being here again tonight. And my sense is also just as the chief academic officer on the campus, you know, all the schools and colleges report to me, and I say this also with a reason, because I want to be here tonight. A, to welcome you all from the Hmong community, from across where you are in the country, from the state. You're very welcome. We have an open community at UWM. We are very international. I come from South Africa. I was in Holland, then I came here. I grew up in the Vietnam War time. I was like 10 years old. If you want to calculate age, try to hide it by having shorter hair and not gray or silver hair. And all I remember about the war was just the Battle of the Green Beret. And then I watched Ken Burns' series lately on the Vietnam War, which was for me very challenging. I learned a lot about that. But for Chia, which I became a personal friend also, and again I say the chief academic officer, not because of the title, but just simply because of how proud I am for the work that she's doing. And I remember when I became the provost in 2010, one of my first meetings was about the support, to continue the support for the Hmong studies on the campus. And I was just happy to sign off and say, continue the work. And what I want to say publicly here is just, I want to continue the work and the support for the work that they are doing on our campus. Chia is one of our top researchers on campus. That's one reason why I'm here without my jacket, is to say thank you for the good work that you do as a researcher. I'm very, very proud of you, Chia. You need to know that. I asked her for a copy of the book because it's a book I want to read, and I said, you better sign it, and she signed it, and the same day this week it was delivered, and I'm going to start reading it this weekend because I am interested in the history. I want to know more, and as the mayor said, thank you for what you've done as a non-American. Now I'm an American citizen. I vote. I'm part of a society here. But I wasn't part of that society, so I want to learn more. Chia is also what you need to know. She was the first ever female Hmong faculty member that got promoted to a full professor at a research university in the United States. And that that's all I want to say. I'm very proud, and actually I will continue my support for the studies that we are doing on our campus. Chia is also the Associate Vice Chancellor for Global Inclusion. I don't know if she mentioned that to you. She does a remarkable job, not just as a researcher, but also in terms of interpersonal relationships, her leadership role, her emotional intelligence. She's just what we want to have on this campus as a faculty member. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Wonderful statements. Thank you all so much for your kind words. I think, you know, when you begin a project, you never know exactly where it's going to end, especially with research. And the more you know that you don't know, and you keep searching. And so I just am so blessed tonight to have all of you here, and so blessed to have all the people who contributed to this book. And I just want to acknowledge too that there's a lot of families who are members of family members of people who were killed in action. So I just want to, I can't see everyone, but I want to acknowledge, you know, Yalo, his brother. Would you stand up, Uncle? He's Uncle now too. Uncle Yalo's brother is, you know, he died in the same aircraft as the legendary Hmong ace pilot, you know, Lee Lub. So Loneng sat in the back. Most people don't know that. Okay, so now you know, and so you know that there were two Hmong pilots who died at the same time. So thank you so much for being here. And if I haven't seen you, please know that I acknowledge all of you for being here. If you have families that you lost, you know, thank you for being here and helping us to remember together and to build together. But I also want to recognize there's a number of veterans who are here as well. So kusan that me it's how you may your go to join a if you're a veteran of the American War in Southeast Asia, whether you were Hmong or American citizen, I'd love to invite you to stand up. Several of you told me you're veterans, so including several of you who were with the U.S. Air Force, and I don't know you personally, but if you are a veteran, would you just stand up so that we can see all of you that are here tonight? Thank you so very much. And I just want to say that on the cover of the book, you'll see this wonderful T-28 planes. The cover of a book can't tell everything, but it does inspire people to be interested and see what's inside. So I want to have a little shout out to John Gunn, who was you know, an American pilot instructor. He trained some of the Hmong and others to fly. So John, would you stand up? This is a photo that John took that he gave me. You see on the agenda that there is a little documentary viewing, but I'm going to skip that. I'm going to just let it play during the reception, so those who really would like to sit and watch, that would be okay. I'm not a filmmaker, so I'm learning to become a filmmaker because I think it's important for you to hear their voices as I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip to the next item, and I'm going to invite the pilots, the veterans, to come up here so that you can officially see them, because it is them, because of them, that we are here tonight. So I'd like to invite them all to come up here, and then I'll introduce them a little bit more formally so that we have a lot to say, but we want you to be able to engage with them personally as well. So we're going to just have a brief conversation, kind of guided discussion amongst ourselves, and then when we're done, then we hope that you will stay and participate in the reception and then engage with them individually. So how about if I'll just call your name, since you're all very shy and you're not getting up. Major Vaka, would you please come up to the stage here? Captain John Youyee Vang, Captain Guo Xiong, Captain Muab, Captain Phau Yang, Lieutenant Phau Yang, Lieutenant Ya Li or Ya Bo Li, Lieutenant Ye Kai. So if you wouldn't mind taking a seat, and I just want to have a couple questions to ask you. have enough seats for everyone? Exactly? A seat for everyone? One more? Okay. So, Chance, would you mind bringing a chair for one? He's got it. It's so great to have my brother here. I can tell him to help. He traveled 6 hours just to help me with the chair. Okay. So, thank you all for being here. And they came from very far away, and all the way from Atlanta, California, Massachusetts. So I thank you so much. And we have a couple of our friends who are in the audience as well. Reverend Tim McCown, who was an instructor pilot, and he's listed here, but he's just gonna sit there, and he's so kind. He has a beautiful, relationship with our community. And then Captain Charles Phau who was an Operation Barrel Roll intelligence officer during the war. He worked with a lot of men. And then of course John Gunn, who was an instructor pilot too. They know this better than we all do. They taught these men how to fly, how to operate these aircraft, often through limited English language. Of course, the American instructor pilots didn't know Hmong too, right? So, so it's not just on the Hmong people, but the Americans didn't learn Hmong either, and then the Hmong had to learn English, so they worked really hard, and many of them are multilingual, not just bilingual. So, my first question to you is, thank you for being here. I'd like you to talk about what this book means to you. So, Phau Ntawm, there's a lot we can say, but if you could maybe briefly, everyone doesn't have to speak, but if you could briefly offer what, you worked really hard on this book. What does this book mean to you? There's a microphone there as well. I
think this book is so important. It is so we remember. It's important to us to understand our history, and hopefully the people will gain a new perspective from this book.
I told them they can speak Hmong, English, whatever they like.
Are you sure? Let me speak loudly. ก่อนอื่นผมอยากขอแสดงความขอบใจนำดร.ยุยี่เพราะว่าเจ้าของขึ้นมาปึ้มมานี่มันสำคัญที่สุดเพราะเด็กน้อยเขาเจ้าบุญเคยรู้จักและเขาไปใหญ่อยู่ในอเมริกานี่เขาจะได้เรียนรู้ว่าประวัติเมืองลองแจ้งบอกซึกเกิดวอร์มันเป็นยังไงแต่ก่อนเป็นยังที่มีซึกเป็นเสือแต่มันคือว่ามีแต่นักบินลาวบ่ที่ไปเฮ็ดซึกเสืออยู่บางลาวที่จริงมันบ่แม่นก็มีนักบินพี่น้องมุ่งแดนักบินคนขมูแดเพราะว่าเฮ็ดซึกอยู่ในบางลาวมันก็มีหลายเผ่าเนาะบ่แม่นแต่มุ่งตลอดมันก็โอเคมุ่งมัน majority อยู่แล้วแต่มันยังมีคนลาวมีขมูแต่ก็มีเผ่าอื่นๆฉะนั้นแหละแต่เฮาจึงมาร่วมกันมาช่วยกันเฮ็ดซึกเสือแต่ความคิดว่าปื้มใหม่นี่มันสำคัญที่สุดเพื่อว่าคันเฮาปื้มใหม่ให้ลูกให้หลานเฮาได้อ่านแล้วแสดงว่าบ่มีเรื่องที่จีเบ้าให้ลูกหลานได้รู้จักว่าเรื่องมันเป็นอะไรหลายคนที่ลูกหลานมาฮอดนี่แล้วเขาลืมละภาษาลาวก็ว่าบ่เป็นภาษามุ่งก็ว่าบ่เป็นแต่ว่าแต่ภาษาอเมริกาไปเลยฉะนั้นเจ้าของคิดว่าขอขอบใจอีกเทื่อนึงนำดร.ยูยี่เพราะดร.ยูยี่มีวิชั่นว่าซั่นซะที่เพิ่นได้เห็นอันความก้าวหน้าที่ว่าเด็กน้อยนะอนาคตจะได้เรียนรู้นะขอขอบใจ
Thưa cô lúc nông vấn đề là cô sa và cho tất cả dân tí tất cả gia đây từ nhà chế là chỉ từ thầy dân chế đi từ nhà chế và Malaysia theo xe rộng Lub Rooj không thành thứ sĩ nó sẽ hở mong đi sĩ nữ nhà chế đã rõ là hòa bình phần đó là tiền lao đâu lúc nào hệ bên thiên quan lúc nào tôi sống ok để khá công thống dòng cho bên em muốn cần gọi đi lo lúc nào thì phần đó còn gì đó chỉ cho bên cho cú do phần đó chân chân hành chia cho cũng suy cho cái hàng không xóa tu vì tiền giờ thất thời phong rồi cũng có thể thất thời phong tới thế cho nên bị mua nhớ rõ của nó thôi đời rồi đấy phong tới là chỉ ra anh mình rong rồi bây giờ tu chân sai tu cần tới chơi nhớ rồi tới chơi nó nhớ rồi tới chơi để phong to cái hàng không phong to cái cười bây giờ anh bị mua vậy phong nó tranh tranh rồi cũng không có đi thao và tôi sẽ cho dùng gì
Very important.
Rất là có hài luôn chứ. Everybody some that speak English, speak Lao. I think I speak Tongan will be better, yeah. Alright. Okay. Bây giờ bây giờ tôi cho nó doctor gì à? Điều cho nó đi cho nên cho tôi nó đi tôi support để con tớ. Điều cho nó doctor gì à? Họ đi xí đi lúc đã lúc rồi. Ít một trái à qua lúc chỉ tổ chỉ cho dùng nó để con tớ nó tiền chủ sĩ tổ. Cho nó con tớ nó ít một trận chiến đồ để hai nên mong cường cầu của xã trở tới của tổ kinh. Vì bé chế nên mong như chỉ khởi mua cho tôi cho đã lâu rồi đi bé nó xả dọ bé ở đây xả đi của xã thì bé chỉ mua mong là bé mong chỉ mua cho tôi cho đã lâu đi nó là nó là to chế bé rồi dòng bộ số là sự mà do ít hồ của do hải cho bé căn cứ kế hoạch cho đi chỉ bố bé cho kế cho nhỉ trong đi trả bé cho nhỉ cơ bé nung bé rổ bé luôn như hồng sư nó sẽ cho thế sản phẩm để bé mùng sư cho nó khó nói là ít khó qua việc bọn tớ nói là ít bộ trực chiến rồi bé ấy thọ bé cho cứ tin nên trả sẽ đỡ đi cho mùi nhẹ kia ấy đi sẽ có hạt thì mình trực chiến đi trả rồi bé hành mong để bộ cho
cho rồi đó tất nhiên là qua người sẽ đi rong và sau một thời đó bây giờ cái phải kiếp cái story này nó cái cũng tương nhỏ cái sẽ được phân thứ đặc kia đôi chồng với cha là chồng này đã chỉ là sự phải po cho cái mong là một đó và ba lúc tới cho nó thế bây giờ chỉ được rồi là ba thợ lần sau cái gì thì cũng không sẽ được một thời tập gì nữa một tròn một cái này thế cú sa để phong đời nó mà trận chiến đấu cụ thể này nó món nó bị đâu cú cho họ để cú sa để cú mà những suy cho cơ là cho họ cái chân chế là những chính ngoài chúng ta bây giờ hai lô là những chỉ giờ hai lô nông sĩ những chỉ giờ hai mà phong đời nó sau kia là nếu kia cho tới đó nó lợi là do lúc tết chờ gặp mình để lợi tôi thà bây giờ mong một trò một chỉ bảo hay tiền cú trở lên cú nó cú sửa tây dùng thuốc mà tây mong mà dùng đi nhưng chỉ cú xì tây này một tuần nữa đi nè dù cho xa hay tiền dù chúng moi cho xa cái phải thì theo tôi tàu dùng thì theo tôi câu cận là thì nó chỉ xa hay tiền lô qua chỉ rồi nên tôi nhớ đến cho nó nên những bao lại nên một hải bao đã khôn này giờ các bạn tàu bị A degree các bạn mua anh ấy nói ở đâu ở đây tôi thấy những con này chỉ bao lù là ở đâu ở đây tôi thấy ở đây nó xứ mà rồi mới có chú tiền cầu cầu chỉ dùng nên cầu chỉ dùng rồi thì con này tụi mình dân chế nè một phần sự chả có thể một khu ý anh ấy nói tên này dân chế cho dân chúa cho chiều cho đỡ là chỉ giờ trong mình tự ta cú chỉ có mình nữa cú hay khó chứng mà gọi là bao thế còn bây giờ mong bao còn bây giờ cũng trở thành chế lao động là bao thì gọi là bao hay là lấy cho đi trả phong tới nó mà mình kho cũng xuyên lúc chuyển thế
mà để chia mà yếu xã để dân đỡ trong những đầu sự cái sự cũ mà của hai đứa này ít thế cho bộ chỉ chụp lo của tôi nhớ tạo sáng lợi của chỉ tôi cho bên một tạo sáng lợi của nhon giờ này còn nó và bỏ được cái này lời nhon được đây chỉ đây cả thì ít bộ giá thành nhà nhon được đây cả thì ít bộ giá tao chỉ của lúc xưa thế nên là mà cũng xã hết tiền nên chỉ xã sẽ mà nên ở trong xã sẽ mà để lột tua cho phải biết ở tròn là nè giờ để giờ lột chỉ tua giờ lột tua là nó là cũng xã hết tiền lột lý do là gì giờ lột giờ chủ lột mấy cái nè lột hết tiền formal recognition tham gia mà American government với chủ mình là cái tên mà thế thì chỉ nhau cái thoát xã hết tiền cái ba lỡ ấy là cái tàu tôi với cái chờ nó chỉ giờ lối xe nông cơ xã thì tây những mọi người chú ý cái gì mà xã thì họ do chỉ được họ chỉ do cái hay được họ chỉ do cái do thì lỡ là hay thì cái tôi thì nói lỡ là hay thì cái do tàu có ba lô này cái chỗ thả lên là tôi đâu là do cái quan điểm tôi sẽ tao nhìn cú xã thì phải sụt sụt tụi mông nó nhưng mà lầnตัวrồi trong tụi rồi lúc có trò tròn bây mà lúc xưa bây giờ chủ hai bây giờ hai bây giờ chủ nhà bơ chỉ tao ăn chỉ là còn lúc xưa đây thì cú này còn koi lúc xưa thế này có koi thì nhiều trong những nhiều bát chỉ tao ăn chỉ là mà lúc xưa cú hai nó xưa hàng đào cho nên hai chỉ cần
Good evening. I will try to speak English because I know most of you speak English in there. The book, thank you, doctors, thank you, Golly, who brought the idea together. For me, the book, it will tell you about the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Southeast Asian War. The ugly is the way the policy run, the way it ran in our country. That's the policy. The bad was we are lost, the war, and we end up to be refugee. The good is a little Joe Blow guy like me come to US. So I have much better life in America. So that's the good. Thank you so much for you guys to be here. Listen to all the things that we said. We appreciate it. We acknowledge that your support, a lot of us. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
We have a few minutes left on our schedule. So I think you've all talked about how this is important not for you just personally, but collectively. For those of you who didn't understand Hmong, I think those are the key messages, that it's also a way to heal as well, as Uncle Phung talked about, the bitterness that comes with war, and Uncle Yan talks about the good, the bad, and the ugly. This book is not just about all the glories of war, right? And there's a lot of contentions in the book, and so you should read it with that kind of open mind, because if you're looking for this fun, good story to read only, then maybe that's not the book for you to read. But the whole point is that a good book is supposed to either make you mad or inspire you to do something, okay? And if there's gaps, then you go fill it, okay? So maybe my last question is kind of attached to that, and I think any of you can participate too, okay? Not just that, but what do you think this book then means for other people who are not Hmong, right? The mayor talked about how we are a good contributor in this community as well. But what does it mean to non-Hmong people? It's not just a book for Hmong, and we are so blessed to be published by Oxford University Press. As scholars, that's some of our dreams. So it's a good accomplishment for me as a scholar, but then for us as a people. But what do other people, what does a book like this mean to you? You don't have to be Hmong. Anybody can answer, but you can as well. I mean, a couple of you alluded to the fact that it should be an education component for others who are not Hmong. right? And even my provost, he has another meeting to go to, but he's now hopefully going to read, and I expect a summary from him. Yeah, so anybody want to offer, what do you think it means for other people who are not Hmong? Sure. You will speak English.
Because I am not Hmong, but I join with the Hmong. To me, when you talk about what is other people who is not non-Hmong, what do they think about the book? Okay, to me, I can see that one thing is that they probably jealousy, of course, because of why Hmong, they always progress, improve. But how about Lao? They have a lot of Lao pilots too, but nothing happened on that side. So I would say that that is a good lesson for them, because of they will learn from what you did, and then they will try to writing a book in their community now. And I think that's a good and bad to the other, because they might see different from what our point of view. So that's all I can say that. But to me, I think that's the good, the best, because of it will be a good for the children. Doesn't matter Hmong children, or doesn't matter Khmuuk children, or doesn't matter Lao children. But if they have a chance to read that book, because many people, the children, they don't kind of cares about reading a lot like before, because they have a TV, they just want to watch, they just want to listen, and then hardly to pick up the book and read. So that is my point of view.
Anybody in the audience want to offer anything? Okay, maybe we'll take a couple comments. We didn't plan to do this, but it's impromptu.
I think the book, I haven't read it, but I know you touched some of the bomb that would bomb into your T-28 in Long Chain and drop it. But I think, Hmong children sometimes look at all of you and us and say, we are Asian, Hmong short, and I don't want to be a Hmong. But I think when they read the book about your intelligence, about your skill, about the sacrifice you made, it will make the Hmong children very proud. I think about other who are not Hmong, when they look at us, all look like, they couldn't really tell it's a Hmong, Asian, or sawv, but we are small. And sometimes they feel like we are worthless. But reading the book and look at you tonight, they said you have a lot of intelligence. And not just that, you work for the United States government. So I think that would help people respect the Hmong better. And I think it will help other people respect me as a Hmong better because of you and because of the book. That's my take of it. Thanks.
Anybody want to make a comment before? Oh, a lot. Okay. I see my zone. Okay, so maybe the brief comment. Does anybody else? I saw. Was there a hand on the side? Okay. I think that's a phone. Okay. Go ahead. Okay. Can you speak English so he can understand?
Oh, okay. To me, I might get too emotional, but my father lost all except for one brother in the war. And so, for me, I think this book is the beginning of a healing process.
Thank you, my John, and thank you for sponsoring, this event as well. I just want to say that the book is actually, it's about Hmong pilots, so you might think that it's just about the military, but it's not. It is about the military, but it's more than that. I've included, in my video, women, the widows and children that were left to brothers and mothers. I interviewed one of the mothers of a pilot who was killed in action in Michigan, and she was almost 90, and it was a gift to interview her, and I end the book with her reflection, and I think it's just very powerful, and she tells me that just knowing that her son did not die for nothing, right? That somebody remembers. So it's, for a lot of the Hmong here, I know it's very emotional, right? Because we all are impacted by that. So because my zhong is emotional, now I'm emotional. So what I'm gonna do is ask for any one last chance, then I'm gonna, so couple minutes, and then I think we'll be at the time to go to the reception. I think they're setting up now. So do you want the microphone or? I don't know, I have a loud voice. Do you want to come in, please?
I have to speak Hmong because my English is not that good, okay? So, sorry, whoever speak English, sit next to you, ask somebody else to translate. Okay, and you don't have to pay for it. Okay, cú giờ nè, na bin bỏ ya, na. Mà cú rong xe thế, cú giờ itu support có lý thế, Dr. Vang hạt địa hôm nay nói là ít hậu tranh tranh bố trò bây giờ bị nhỏ vì cho họ thì bây mong là chạy luôn Dr. Vang cái nào làm một bộ hôm đó nói thế bây thầu chỉ là quý hạt địa bây giờ chúng họ cho cái lời thua lời khía thế bây giờ bỏ khó bây giờ cái rong và trong cũ là chạy cũng bỏ hạt địa hôm đó nói là ít hậu tranh tranh bố trò bây giờ mình tôi bị nhỏ tỏn đây nó một trò giá tỏn đây u nè do vì đi cha tao cú hai linh nữa cú thế cú tụt gì mà họ ở tụ cho USF for nó là tao chờ mù chỉ mù family reunion đó lấy cho F nó nè mà cú thế họ lấy từ POW cho mẹ khen là cơ ok em tự lo từ lòng hai bia nên nó bây giờ nó bị nó mà bây giờ cho thà hàng lưu sở tông cho 911 vì cho họ tiền đầu tư cho tiền lỡ một chỗ trong nhà kì lỡ hù bé giờ tàu mù tả xỉ lỡ sư bé chúng mà họ sòn kì bé giờ lỡ họ 911 ít chờ lỡ cho xe nữa nè ít họ nữa là hai nữa thế họ cũng tu xe chấp lỡ mà bé chúng mong nó bé cũng bỏ tàu hạt tiền thầu bé lúc đấy chờ tàu nữa rồi kì sau đó kì đình chết to lò lỡ sư ta chỉ có tụt gì nó thấy tụ trâu tua, bông trâu tua nhá la rồi, lúc hắn tè cho một cơ rồi, chế lúc đấy chờ tờ lo sẽ được tờ lo một ta nè, chế lỡ mà đi hạt tiền đấy chờ tiền tụ mà cho nên tờ lo, thầu cho nên tờ lo nên tôi chỉ bảo tiền lúc đấy chờ nó kia ta nè, lỡ muốn cho ta hả nó lột chua cho chế nhá cho lông chân mồm beo trâu tỏ nhá la, nhưng mà lột cho lúc đấy chờ kia ta nè, đi vào tụ xe nè, còn nè. Ta chỉ mà cho American nó mà thầu lỡ tua lúc đấy chờ nó ta mà lỡ bông POW lỡ cho POW bông đồ tỏ ta mà làถ้า bạn American nó lỡ một chia na lỡ một chia chè lỡ một chậu chè lỡ một cho lỡ thích cho tụi mình khen lỡ cho nó cho cá lỏ ta chỉ biết cho nó chè chỉ mua đi na cũng tụi chỉ chè giờ lúc đấy chờ chỉnh chúa đi nó chè tua chỉ tàu đi na còn cô hai đi nó rồi đi sau đó cho nhớ rồi còn nó thế hạt ya phong đó nó hơi ít phong rong thế chỉ chia hàng trò bé hay nó mong rồi à chua lử hay này tàu cỡ cho chết cho lại ở trong đó.
Thank you for mentioning because he was saying most people don't Captain Phau Ntawv was shut down. His aircraft was shut down, and he was a POW and for a long time, and his story is in the book. And every time I listen to our conversation, hours and hours of our interview, it's still really heart-wrenching for him to talk about. So thank you so much for sharing that. And then I'm going to let you make the last comment, and then I'll let you have any last word, if any, and then we are going to, I think, Rebecca, is the food there? Okay.
Just really quick, thank you for the opportunity. So I'm one of the child of one of the pilots up here. And as for our younger generation, it is, I just text my children, and I said I'm standing with living history, my uncle and my dad. And they're very proud. They're like, cool, proud. So I think for me, the hope is that this could be included in American history. It's not just the Hmong, but the Americans who went and trained, because I do not remember it in history class at all when I went to school. So I hope that it starts with bigger Hmong communities up here, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, that it could be incorporated in American history, that they could learn about the veterans, the Americans that went down in sacrifices. You know, the secret part. We hear about Vietnam War when we're in school. I think most of you out there agree with me. But I don't think any of us have learned in American history this portion of American history. So I hope that this, one day, we'll hear about it in American history.
Thank you so much. Okay, one more quick comment. Okay, that would be fine. Please come in. Wait.
Hi, I'm Milwaukee Alderman Tony Zielinski, and I'm here as part of my responsibilities of the city to pay honor and tribute. Am I on? Hello? Can you hear me now? Okay, great. I'm Alderman Tony Zielinski from Milwaukee, and I'm here to pay honor and tribute to the heroes that we have on the stage here. I want to give them a round of applause for being American heroes. Before I go any further, I just want to say how relieved I am that I didn't go to the Bucks game tonight, because now I don't have to have an explanation why I'm not wearing a suit. So, anyway, again, I also want to pay special thanks to Dr. Daim for writing this important book. And this book is so critical. It is so critical because very few people in this country really understand the sacrifices that the Hmong people made in Southeast Asia, fighting for freedom and for the ideas that we hold so dearly. And this book, it's critical that she wrote the book when she did, because these people are still alive. If somebody had the idea to write the book when they're not alive, good luck. We're going to lose a lot. And I think it's critical, like one of the previous speakers said, that we make sure that our kids are aware of this portion of our history as well. And in fact, my wife and I are going to start working on the history. She's standing there. We bought the book over here from Dr. Vang, and we look forward to reading that book and being able to discuss that and pass along that information to everybody else. But now, we're very fortunate in this country to have the Hmong people be Americans now. You helped us, in the war. Now you're helping us in this country as Americans, and you're helping make America a better place because you're doing well in school, you're working hard, you're getting jobs, you're starting businesses, This is part of the American dream, to come to this country, and like this other gentleman or hero said, he has a better life here. And part of the reason why it's a better life is because of people like this coming to this country, helping to make it better. One thing I want to mention that I think is especially critical, and it talks about the education component, is I am working on a plan to get a memorial for the Hmong heroes that fought in Southeastern Asia for us, so that there'll be a place where people can go and they can actually see that. Thank you very much, Dr. Vang, for the opportunity to speak at this very, very momentous occasion. Thank you. Where's my hug? I thought she was going to get away with that.
All right. So, not that I don't want anybody else to have a chance, but what I want to do is we're just going to play the video. If people want to sit and watch, that's fine. But I believe Rebecca says food is ready. So we just have a little bit of reception. Please feel free to, if you want to buy a copy of the book, we are happy to sign. All of the former pilots, they are also very happy to sign the book because I'm the author, but it's their story. So their signatures are actually very, very important to me. So feel free to go get drinks and then come back, sit, talk, take pictures, and enjoy each other's company. Thank you all so much for coming again.